Hello everyone, this is the long awaited update on OCSF schema changes for the month of November. By the end of November, we had version 0.34 of OCSF schema as a result of about 36 merge commits from 8 odd authors, and there were changes to about 50 files in all that I could figure out. So let's look at the major changes first, and then we'll jump on to some of the minor changes. One of the major changes this month was refactoring of CVE, CVSS and metrics. This was covered as part of issue number 328, which talks about the current implementation of CVSS scores and the CVE IDs and the discussion that has resulted in refactoring of CV and CVSS objects and their usage. As a result of this refactoring, a new CVE object has been introduced. This object represents single CVE record for each publicly disclosed cybersecurity vulnerability defined in the CVE program catalog. Its attributes include CVSS, CWEOID, CVID, vulnerability type, etc. CVSS metric attributes such as access complexity ID, confidential requirement ID have been removed from the CVSS object, and a new generic metric object has been introduced to cover all this with just two attributes, name and value. So as a result of this, the reference goes like this. So malware object would refer to a newly created CV object, which in turn will refer to CVUIDs, which is basically an array, and which will have basically the CVSS objects. Similarly, the vulnerabilities object has been updated to use the new CV object instead of the CVSS object which was defined earlier. Another change that I saw was that related finding has been replaced with related event. It's just not that nomenclature change, but the complete change has been done out here. And the basis which has been discussed in issue number 341 was that that most of these findings are based on events or activities generated by some other products, so they actually would be probably referring to some other events. So we should provide a way to refer to events. So as a result of this, now we have a related event object, and also the finding object has been updated to refer to the related events object, which was earlier referring to the related findings object. A new software package has been added to represent details about the packages affected by the vulnerabilities in a security finding event. So we are capturing here the architecture, the epoch, the package name, release, version, etc. This is an early stage. We may see changes in this in future. Then there is TSCP activity event class, which has been updated. In this, the network interface has been removed and replaced with destination and source endpoints. The idea here is to capture information on the requester and responder separately, like who requested for TCP lease and who responded and things like that, and informations like which interface it came from, etc. Based on the discussion around this, I believe we may expect some more changes in future. A support has been added to capture information on the read and write activities in memory, and this has been done by expanding the enumeration, which is memory activity JSON, to also have read and write activities as part of that. Also, process object has been added to memory event class to track the process that had its memory read, returned to, or manipulated, etc. It was observed that in addition to severity fields, some vendors are also sending in a confidence score to describe the certainty of severity determined for an incident or event. So to address this, a new optional attribute confidence has been moved from finding object to the base event class so that it's available for everyone. And this has been defined as a confidence of reported event severity in terms of percentage, so which would be from 0% to 100%. So all the packet payload fields in the various network events have been made optional. So this has impacted FTP, RDP, RFP, SMB, SMTP, etc. An example of such an event could be, the email object in the SMTP event class. So this one basically involves reduction of redundancy in the DNS activity. So resolved and unresolved have been replaced with response. So it has been observed, it was actually really what I saw in the ticket was that there was discussion about altering the status ID to reflect this, going to be using status ID to reflect whether the issue is resolved or or unresolved, or this response. Then activity IDs have been converted to their present tense and across various files, like for example mounted to mount, unmounted to unmount, and things like that. Other changes that I saw which were not that large was, like for example, a malware profile has been added to security finding class, which was not there. The activity ID of scheduled job activity has been extended to include start, which was not part of it earlier. Then it was more of a correction when we added suspicious or risky scenario into the score ID enum. So then network activity IDs have been updated also. So what they have done is they have removed failed and refused activity IDs from the network activity event class, and they have renamed established to open and close to close. So these are the changes which have been done in the network activity event class. The inventory event class has been updated to include host profile. Is user present attribute has been removed from this event class. Terminated time attribute has been reintroduced in process object. Then email event class has been updated. So it included a couple of changes, like for example, the host and malware profiles have been introduced or added to the email event class. Then there were certain duplicate IDs that discovered across various email event classes, which have been resolved. Then they have been moved from system category to network category. Now in the RDP event class, new activities have been added, like initial request, initial response, connect request, connect response, and TLS handshake. The FTP event class has been populated with activity IDs like put, get, delete, etc. So these were actually not defined in the FTP event class. So all the activities related to FTP have been listed in the activity IDs attribute of FTP event class. A new attribute account name has been added. This is to capture things like AWS account name. Then system activity class UIDs have been renumbered, like for example file system which was previously 0 is now 1, kernel extension was previously 13, it's now 2, kernel is 3, and so on. That's all on the changes front this time. Thank you.